Hi, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Kim Hubbard, and I am going to be your host for a new YouTube series we are calling Restoration Homer Cultural Center, which is what this building is going to be once we finish restoring it. But that in itself is it's going to take us about 2 to 3 years. We're going to show you all that this building is going to need. Everything from structural repair, toxic materials removal, lead, asbestos, you name it. We're going to take you through the entire process. But right now it's kind of cold and rainy up here in central New York. So why don't you come on inside and we'll talk some more. Show you the inside. All right, we're inside now. It's a little bit warmer. Not much, but a little. This is going to be the future home of the Homer Cultural Center. Now, when I say Homer, the reality is you might not know exactly where Homer is in relation to New York. When people say I live in New York, they oftentimes think, well, you mean Manhattan or one of the 5 boroughs or something. Well, we are in what we call central New York. We are not near Buffalo, which sadly those poor folks got 6 feet plus of snow. Right now we just got rain. We do have ski resorts in this area, but if you just get a perspective, Syracuse, New York, got to turn myself here, is 30 miles north on Route 81. Ithaca, New York is about the same distance that way. Binghamton is about 45 miles that way. We've got a lot in this area, vineyards, ski resorts, theaters, all kinds of things. Right in Homer, we have the companion ownership, I guess you could say, of the Homer Center for the Arts, which is right across our village green here. They are now going to be the owners and operators of this facility once we are able to save it, restore it. And this is going to be a companion venue to one of the premier performing arts centers in the country, which is the Homer Center for the Arts. You're going to see on your screen now the website that we invite you to go to. Please check it out. It is an amazing performance venue, and you'll see some of the most incredible world-class acts that have already performed there. A lot of them come back because they asked to come back. And we've got new ones coming all the time. We have, on average, 3 or 4 performances a week. So this particular facility is going to be a part of that. It's going to contain all kinds of different opportunities as well for art classes, music classes, smaller performance venues. And on top of that, we're still going to do more intimate weddings in this space. This has that wonderful history of it. Also, memorial services, book signings, readings, you name it. This particular venue offers so many more opportunities to bring things to our community that if we tore it down, you'd be in some boring hall someplace. This place needs to be saved because it's part of our history. That's what we want more than anything else, aside from the beauty of the architecture, the art, the stained glass windows, the history itself. We want to save it because it's a part of our history, our culture. And I'll bet you have a building or 2 or 3 just like this in your hometown. What do you do with them? Do you just pave them over and put in a parking lot? Thank you, Joni Mitchell. Or do you actually take a look at it and realize what you can bring to your community? That's what we're trying to do here. Fortunately, we have some forward-thinking people enough that said, well, let's just not tear it down. Let's see what we can contribute to our community. So that group that saved what was the Baptist church over there and turned it into the Homer Center for the Arts, a lot of those same people got together and said, we can do the same thing for this. We have the expertise. We know how to do it. So we're going to bring in the artisans that it took to save that place. They're going to save this building. Craftsmen of all different types, masons, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, painters, you name it. That's what it's going to take to save this particular building. And we invite you to be a part of that. Patreon, other GoFundMe sections that you can pick a particular part and say, well, I believe in the church organ that we have that we're going to save and restore. The stained glass windows, the pews, all of these things are going to stay. We're not just going to throw them out, but they have to be saved properly. And we need proper skilled craftspeople to be able to do that. So if you're interested in something like that and you want to support that, check out the different links down below and help us out. Now, what we haven't done yet is take you on a tour of the building itself and show you what needs to be done. It's going to kind of scare some of you, like it did us. The outside of this foundation of this building itself needs to be completely restored, repaired, torn out, whatever. That's going to require some engineering feats that are going to be incredibly complicated, but very impressive and fun to watch. They're going to lift this building up, straighten out the whole foundation. It's a really cool modern process that we came across a company that is going to help us do that. So we're going to bring in those experts. We also have to restore and save all these windows first, which means we have to take them out before we start correcting the building. There's a building next door to us that we thought was okay. That foundation is crumbling. So that building also has to be lifted and corrected. We can't really get a certificate of occupancy for this building until that stuff is done. Then we can start bringing in teams and crews to do everything from just cleaning this place. It has not seen activity of any sort, except for some cats that get in here every once in a while and have left us all kinds of wonderful things. We have to clean up all of that. So when we are allowed to actually get a whole crew in here, you're going to meet a lot of the people from our community that are going to help save this beautiful building. And then we're going to bring in designers that are going to explain to you how we're going to convert one room into something else, what that's going to take, plumbing, electrics, all the different things it's going to take to save an old building, a 200-year-old building. It's not easy, but I promise you it's worth it. Stop throwing stuff away. We can't keep doing that. Once this building is gone, we don't get another one like it back. And there are too many examples of that all over the country. People just look at it and go, to hell with it, knock it down. We can't keep doing that. And we're not going to do that here. We have too many examples and too many beautiful buildings that we saved. And then after it was all saved, people went, oh, I'm glad you did that. Think of it the other way around. You tear it down and they go, oh, geez, why'd you tear it down? It's gone now. We don't want to do that. So we're going to take you on a tour, see all the different things that we have here to take into consideration to fix. And then if you come back every week, hit the link button, the subscribe button, the questions, anything connected to this place that you have an opinion on, let us know. We'll talk to you. And just stay with us for the next 2 to 3 years. Now, okay. Now, when we first met, I was standing right up there. I couldn't stand on the steps because they're gone. This is one of the worst parts of this, as far as the appearance to our community. You look at this beautiful old building in all other respects, but this is just gone. So we've had to rope this off. It's an eyesore. And that's kind of what got the community interested. What can we do about this building? And that's where we got the pros and the cons. Some people just said, oh, knock it down. We could use more parking. Other people said, no, my great-grandparents got married there. That kind of history, we wanted to be able to keep that. So this was really the impetus. When people began to see what kind of condition this building was in, it started people asking questions. And again, as I mentioned before, we have enough forward-thinking people that said, no, it's worth saving. That's what we're going to do. But one of the first things we have to do once we restore the foundation and save that, we got to put some steps so you can at least get in the front door. Now, if you come over here, I'm going to show you the foundation issues that we were talking about before. As you can see, this whole section is really kind of breaking away. It's been repaired a few times, but the entire building is tipping in, but not just here. When our structural engineer came, we thought, all of us that initially took on this project, we thought that this was the only really bad spot here and around the corner. Sadly, our structural engineer did the proper thing. He did a whole assessment of the entire structure, this building and that one. And unfortunately, we discovered that the entire foundation is gone. But oddly enough, from here up, the rest of the building is rock solid. It was incredibly well constructed. Just over the years, water, snow, ice, you name it, began to destroy all this. This is what was a Bilco door that went into the basement. They built this on top of it to give it access. The only problem is we had to put a sump pump down there to keep all the water, because it turned into a little swimming pool. So this is all going to come out. It's actually causing more problems than it was meant to cover up or stop. If you can see, if Brian can get a shot back there, there's a roof that they also added and a porch area between this building and that building. That also created a lot of problems over the years. So our designers, our engineers are coming in to look at what we can bring back to the original design that will undo some of the unintentional damage that was done and will stop all of this. But this is where we can really see the critical damage, that this sill plate is completely shot. If you kind of watch, you can see a little dippy-divey kind of sill plate that runs this way. This is also rotted. You can also see that it's tipped out. Now, we've had people, and even down there, as a matter of fact, it tips down. So this building's foundation is kind of all over the place. This stuff here is shiplap. It's stacked on top of each other, not overlapping like clapboard is. This is going to be tougher to take care of. This is going to have to be stripped. We don't want to have to yank out some of these boards if we don't have to. We have to way up there, and that's where some of those boards are from over there. They started to fly off the building. That's another issue. It was not safe. This building was quite literally crying. It was just dropping pieces of itself all over. We've got to stop that. It's also just kind of sad when you think the history of this building. It is the oldest building on the village green, and it is one of the oldest buildings in the entire county, one of. God, we got to respect that. We can't just keep throwing this stuff away, as I was saying before. So why would we? It needs work, needs a lot of work, but that doesn't mean we just give up on it. These stained glass windows have survived pretty much without any help for a good 150 years. Then people thought, well, let's protect the history of the stained glass, the artistry, all that, and they put plexiglass over them, thinking it was a good thing to do. On two levels, it's not. One, you see these little vent holes that they put in. They thought that was sufficient to let the heat in the summertime escape. It isn't. It traps the heat in there and it softens the lead. So all of the beautiful individual panes began to sag or bow out. So we've got that issue with these stained glass windows. The other issue is that even if that was not the problem, the other problem is that you can't see the stained glass. The plexiglass gets scarred up over time and it gets dull. Yeah, you can keep replacing it, pulling it off again, but the point is they were doing fine without any help for 150 years. We want to bring them back so that they can be seen by the public as a part of the beautiful architecture of this building. So all of this plexiglass stuff is coming off. The windows are going to be restored. But I think I mentioned this inside, but just in case, the windows all have to come out first before they level this building and correct it. You can't try to rack the building back into shape with windows in. We'll shatter every single one of them. So they all have to come out first. Then we correct the building, correct the foundation, and then in the meantime, the windows are going to be off and being restored. Then we bring them back. That is, as you can imagine, horribly expensive. Another issue, which I never realized, is a lot of the caulking that was used has asbestos in it. That's fun. For anybody out there that has ever had to have asbestos remediation in their home or their business, you know how expensive that can be, how time-consuming and dangerous. It's got to be done properly. So we have to deal with that. And then, of course, there's this. All of this stuff right here. Whoops. Oh, okay. That's about a 1/16 of an inch worth of paint. On the outside, yes, it's probably latex, but underneath, it's lead, which means all of this has to be taken off. You can't really just sort of scrape it and think you're going to get it all. You've got to get to this wood, save this wood, sand this wood, open this wood up again, properly take care of it, especially these doors. Now, there's not lead paint on those doors, but they're dried right out. We have to save those beautiful doors. Those are original. So we're going to do that. You can see it. It's another old, once was a church. That's the building I was telling you about, the Homer Center for the Arts. Wonderful performance venue. So we learned a lot in saving that building, and we're going to incorporate that knowledge and experience here in saving this one. So that's why we invite you to come on back. It's going to be cold. It's raining in central New York instead of snowing. We didn't get hit like Buffalo, but eventually we do get hit. So come on back. It's going to be a fun 2 to 3 years, but I hope you'll stay with us. Thanks again. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, ask us your questions, and we'll do our very best to answer them. But thanks for stopping by.